This memory from my childhood still sends chills down my spine. I was around 7 or 8 years old when my mom usually took my brother and me trick-or-treating. But one year after school, she dropped me off at my friend Sean's house. Sean, Johnny, and I planned to go out together. Johnny and Sean were a year older than me, and we'd met while playing on the block. Sean had a complicated home life that I didn't fully grasp at the time. His sister, who was about 20, seemed to be his primary caretaker, and there was a noticeable distance between them. Whenever I visited, his house smelled like cats, and his sister rarely acknowledged me. Sean's dad was absent, and his mom was often out of town. I only met her a few times, so I didn't learn much about their family dynamics. When my mom dropped me off, I thought Sean's mom would join us for trick-or-treating, but I soon learned that neither she nor his sister would be supervising. I felt a twinge of unease, but was also excited about the freedom we had. I knew my mom would have disapproved of us going out unsupervised. Finally, we set off into the neighborhood, eager to collect candy. As we went door to door, several people asked if we were alone or where our parents were. Johnny always used the same excuse, that his mom was ahead with his sister, and it worked every time. Since it was a Friday, we didn't start until around 5 p.m., but we planned to keep going until our pillowcases were full. After a couple of hours, we took a break at Sean's house, where he heated up some frozen pizzas. I envied the freedom he had. Looking back, I realize how fortunate I was to have strict parents. After eating and watching Halloween specials on Nickelodeon, Johnny's mom picked him up. Sean and I were determined to continue, so we ventured out for round 2. By now, it was dark and the streets were quieter. We explored a block we hadn't hit yet, knocking on doors and receiving similar comments about being out late. Then, we noticed a man pushing a stroller a few houses down. He moved slowly in our direction, likely a dad taking his child trick-or-treating. As we continued, the man approached us saying, "How's the trick-or-treating going, boys?" We replied in unison that it was good. He mentioned it was getting late and offered us the rest of his candy. Sean and I exchanged excited glances. It felt like a lucky break. Sean asked what kinds of candy he had, and the man said he had bags of different treats since he hadn't given much away before. He pointed to the bag hanging from his stroller and mentioned that his daughter was asleep inside, covered by a blanket. He gestured that his house was just up the street, so we followed him. As we walked, I noticed how quiet the neighborhood was. The man made small talk, asking us where we lived and went to school, while I let Sean handle most of the conversation. When we reached his house, he unlocked the door and brought the stroller inside first, inviting us to follow. I hesitated and asked if we could leave the door open. He paused, then agreed. He went to grab the candy, pushing the stroller to the middle of the room. Feeling uneasy, I nudged Sean and whispered, "Why is he leaving the candy so far away?" Without answering, Sean approached the stroller, and the look on his face changed dramatically. He rushed back to me, whispering, "Let's go." We bolted outside, our heavy pillowcases slowing us down. Just then, a woman called out to us, asking if we knew that man. Sean quickly explained that he had offered us candy but was pushing a stroller with a fake baby in it. Goosebumps raced up my arms as she confirmed, "Yeah, that man doesn't have a child. I saw you walking with him." She led us to her car and drove us home, even though getting into a stranger's car felt risky. When we arrived, she spoke to my mom about what had happened. My mom was distraught as I recounted every detail. She sent me to my room while she and my dad called the police. They never shared what happened after that, likely to shield me from further worry. After that night, my mom didn't want me visiting Sean anymore, and I knew she had a serious talk with his mom. I occasionally saw Sean at school, and while we were still cordial, our friendship was never the same again. It was Halloween night in 2016, and my parents had tasked me with handing out candy to all the kids. My mom went overboard, buying countless bags of candy that I knew would last for weeks, leaving me to regret munching on them while trying to lose weight. Typically, we didn't get many trick-or-treaters since our house was at the end of a cul-de-sac, but there were a few loyal kids who always came by for our generous treats. This Halloween fell on a Monday, and I was lucky enough to have that day off from college. After a morning at the gym and tackling some assignments, I eagerly awaited the sound of kids outside. which usually started around 4 p.m. The first doorbell rang somewhere between 4 and 5 p.m., and the evening progressed as expected, handing out candy while my dog, Vito, barked at every ring. By 8 p.m., I'd seen maybe 10 to 15 trick-or-treaters. The quiet cul-de-sac just wasn't a hotspot for Halloween traffic. As the night wore on, I managed to finish up some homework and decided to grab some of my mom's leftover stew. I headed to my room to watch Game of Thrones. Just as I was settling in, I heard the doorbell ring again. It was around 9:30 p.m., well past the usual trick-or-treating hours. Curious, but cautious, I went to the front door and peeked through the glass storm door. Standing there was a tall man dressed as a clown, complete with a scary mask. Something about his presence sent a chill down my spine. He waved and pointed at the brown sack he was holding, which looked nearly empty. I didn't open the storm door. Instead, I shouted, "Sorry, we don't have any more candy," and quickly shut and locked the door. Instantly, I regretted opening it. I thought it might have been a kid or a parent out late, but this figure was far from innocent. He was huge, and the clown costume only amplified his size. I hovered by the door for a moment, listening, but instead of walking away, he rang the doorbell again. Vito went wild, barking incessantly. I picked him up and carried him upstairs, turning off the lights to give the impression that we weren't home. I set Vito in my room and shut the door, hoping to keep him quiet. But soon, I heard a loud snap from downstairs. The storm door latch had been broken. Knocking followed, and then the sound of the door rattling. Feeling unsettled, I texted my family group chat, but no one replied. I knew that whoever it was had to get bored eventually. I wanted to reach out to my friends, but all my guy friends are shorter than me, and that didn't seem helpful right now. I returned to the episode I was watching, trying to ignore the situation, but the doorbell rang again. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, whispering for Vito to be quiet while I kept my blinds closed, not wanting the clown to know where I was. I tried calling my dad, but he didn't pick up. My brother answered, but he was clearly preoccupied with a girl. I explained the situation, and he brushed it off as a Halloween prank, urging me to ignore it. I hoped he was right. It made the most sense. After a few tense minutes, the doorbell finally stopped ringing, and I felt a bit safer. I lay back down, drifting off to sleep. I don't think I was asleep long before I woke to Vito growling softly. I shushed him, but then I noticed he was staring at the window. I listened closely and heard the faintest thumping sound, almost like something rubbing against the glass. My bedroom was on the second floor, so I didn't think anyone could be outside, but my curiosity got the better of me. I peeked through the blinds, and to my horror, there was the clown right outside my window, his mask grinning menacingly. I screamed, and Vito was silent. I bolted out of my room, rushing into my parents' bedroom, locking the door behind me. I dialed 911, my body shaking with fear as I struggled to speak. I must have repeated to the operator to hurry every 20 seconds. She assured me the police were on their way. About 10 minutes later, they arrived, checking the exterior of the house for any signs of attempted entry. They found that the latch on the storm door was indeed broken, and noticed my dad's ladder leaning against the side of the house by my bedroom window. It became clear that the clown had used it to climb up and peek inside. To avoid further anxiety, I spent the night at my friend Adam's house. To this day, I don't know if it was a sick prank or something more sinister. The fact that it happened on Halloween only made it more unsettling. It was late October, the Saturday of Halloween weekend, and we were all looking for last-minute party plans since everything seemed to be sold out. With Halloween on a Tuesday that year, Saturday was the big night. My friends and I were excited to show off our hilarious costumes, and Kate, being the brave one, decided to post on her Instagram and Snapchat stories asking if anyone knew of parties. I wouldn't have done that. It felt a bit desperate, but I appreciated her willingness. Surprisingly, shortly after she posted, she got a message about a party. She quickly sent a screenshot with the address, start time, and a few rules. The party would be indoors only, no backyard access, and everyone had to bring their own booze. Plus, there was a strict rule, at least one girl for every guy. The details came from a guy we knew, one of our friends who was well connected. Apparently, many people we knew were going. The address was just a town over, so we piled into Shauna's place for a quick pregame. After about an hour of getting ready and waiting for confirmation from the guys, we called an Uber and brought a mix of drinks, 4 Loko, White Claws, and vodka shooters. Our driver probably regretted picking us up. When we arrived, the house was big, with a spacious front yard and a ton of cars parked outside. We could hear the bass thumping as we approached. I opened the door, and we stepped into a dimly lit space adorned with orange lights, instantly setting the Halloween vibe. The place was packed, but we didn't recognize anyone. Kate texted our guy friends to see if they had arrived. An older guy came over and introduced himself as John, Luke's dad, the guy hosting the party. I awkwardly asked who Luke was, and John said he was around somewhere. He offered to take our drinks to the cooler, leading us to the kitchen where we saw 3 large coolers filled with ice. It was a bit strange how friendly he was, considering he was probably in his 50s. We played beer pong with some guys, and soon, Kate confirmed that our friends were on their way. Suddenly, John called my name and Kate's from the kitchen, insisting we join him for shots. My friends exchanged glances, unsure, but I shrugged it off and joined him for a quick tequila shot, gagging slightly since there was no lime. As the night progressed, John kept hovering around, overly eager to make drinks and chat. I felt slightly uneasy, but we pushed through, enjoying the party atmosphere. After losing a game of beer pong, I went to check my phone, only to find it hadn't charged at all. I felt uneasy about leaving it plugged in elsewhere, so I decided to just keep it off. Things started to blur after our guy friends arrived. One moment I was talking with Jeff, and the next, I blacked out. The next thing I remember is waking up in a car outside my house, feeling disoriented. One of the guys helped me inside, and I was alone except for my parents asleep in their room. I checked my phone and saw a bunch of texts from an unsaved number. It started with my name, followed by a message from John. Uh-oh. Then, "You look so cute." There was a 2-hour gap before his next text. "Where did my favorite girls go?" My heart sank. How had I given him my number? I tried to shake it off, falling asleep almost instantly. The next morning, I woke up to even more disturbing texts. John had sent several messages at around 2 a.m. "Where are you?" "I'm coming to your house." "You left something here." Followed by, "I'm here. Can you come to the door?" And, "Hello, are you awake?" I shared the screenshots with my friends who reminded me of how John had been all over me at the party. They said they started to get worried and pulled me away before we left. Just as we were leaving, 2 police cars showed up, presumably for a noise complaint. It struck us that there had been no furniture in the house, just people and beer pong tables. One of my friends looked up the number and told me it was a voice-over IP number, which meant it could be fake. He warned that John could easily find my address with my number, sending a chill down my spine. We started to suspect that there was no sun at all, and when Shauna suggested that he might have roofied me, it all clicked. I'd never felt this way after drinking before. We decided to go to the police station to report everything, including John's messages. The officer at the front desk asked if we were referring to the party at a vacant house, and we were stunned. He explained that neighbors had called about a loud party at a house that had been empty for some time. We were all in shock as we recounted the night's events to a detective who took John's number and said they'd try to trace it back once they got a warrant. Afterward, I blocked the number, feeling sick about the whole ordeal. Days went by without any updates, and while I hoped it was over, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The realization that a man went out of his way to host a party in a vacant house just to lure in young women haunted me. The idea that he could still be out there without facing consequences was terrifying. This happened a month ago, and I'm left waiting, crossing my fingers that something changes.